The shaking has begun. The winds of destiny are rising, and everything that once seemed stable is now trembling. Chosen one, you can feel it in your spirit. You were not born for an ordinary path. You were set apart, marked, hidden, and preserved for such a time as this. The signs are no longer distant. They are breaking into your present moment. The doors that once were locked are beginning to open. And the voice of heaven is whispering, it's finally beginning to happen. For years you carried visions that others dismissed. For years you bore the weight of dreams too heavy for those around you to understand. For years you walked through deserts of delay, through storms of confusion, through nights of silence, where it seemed heaven had hidden its face. Yet all of it was preparation. Every wound became a well. Every delay was a divine appointment. Every broken piece was a prophecy waiting to be fulfilled. Now, the moment is approaching when preparation meets manifestation. This is the season where the hidden becomes revealed, where the buried seed breaks through the soil. It is not coincidence. It is not random. It is the orchestration of the Eternal One who has been aligning every step, every encounter, every trial to bring you into this appointed hour. But here is the call, the great command for the chosen: leave everything for this. Do not carry yesterday into tomorrow. Do not hold on to what He is asking you to release. Do not try to cling to comfort when destiny demands sacrifice. Abraham left his homeland. Moses left Egypt. The disciples left their nets. And you, chosen one, you must now leave behind what cannot go with you into the future. The Spirit whispers, do not look back. Remember Lot's wife. She looked back, and in looking back, she was frozen in the past. Do not look back at the betrayals, at the missed opportunities, at the regrets that haunt you. Do not look back at the sins that once chained you. Do not look back at the people who could not walk with you to the end of your journey. The road ahead is too narrow for excess baggage. This is why the wilderness was necessary. In the wilderness, God strips away what does not belong. In the wilderness, you learn that manna comes daily, not stored. In the wilderness, you discover that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. And so now, as the wilderness comes to its close, the Jordan River stands before you. It is rising, overflowing its banks, daring you to cross. But heaven declares the waters will part when your feet step in. The chosen ones are never called to the easy path. They are called to the impossible path. The Red Sea, the Jericho walls, the fiery furnace, the lion's den. These are the proving grounds of destiny. And you, chosen one, are stepping into that ground. The reason the battle has been so fierce is because the promise is so great. The reason the opposition has been relentless is because your calling is unstoppable. Here, this delay is not denial. Every delay has been working in your favor. Joseph waited in the prison until the time appointed, and then in one moment he was elevated to the palace. David was anointed, yet sent back to shepherd fields, until the hour came for him to confront Goliath. Esther was hidden in the shadows until the time came for her to step before the king. So too, you have been hidden, preserved, and prepared for an hour that is now breaking. But the call remains, will you leave everything for this? Will you surrender your old identity, your fear, your comfort zones, your excuses? Because heaven will not pour new wine into old wineskins. To step into this, you must become new. The version of you that survived the wilderness cannot be the same version that enters the promised land. Transformation is required. Death to self is required. Complete surrender is required. Chosen one, hear this mystery. God always requires a sacrifice before the manifestation of glory. Abraham laid Isaac on the altar. Elijah built the altar before the fire fell. Yeshua himself laid his life down before resurrection came. The glory follows sacrifice. The fire falls on the offering. If you want the fullness of your destiny, you must release what he is asking for now. The shaking you feel around you is not destruction, it is birth. When a child is born, the mother's body shakes. The womb contracts. Pain intensifies. And yet it is not the end, it is the beginning. So too, your life has been contracting, shaking, pressing. But this is not death. It is delivery. Something is being birthed in you, and you must let go of the womb to embrace the world you were created for. Do not fear the unknown. The unknown is where faith is proven. The unknown is where miracles manifest. Peter stepped out of the boat onto waters that logic said would drown him. Yet as long as his eyes were fixed on Yeshua, the water became solid ground. You too must step out, leaving the boat of familiarity, leaving the safety of human reason, and walking toward the voice that calls you. And know this, you are not stepping into this alone. The God who called you is the God who goes before you. He parts the waters, he topples the walls, he shuts the mouths of lions. He has already walked the road you are about to take. Your task is not to understand every step. Your task is to obey the next step. For obedience is greater than understanding, and faith is greater than sight. This is the prophetic moment. Your wilderness has expired. Your Jordan is parting, your Jericho is trembling, and the land of promise is opening before you. But you cannot bring Egypt into Canaan. You cannot bring fear into faith. You cannot bring compromise into covenant. Leave everything for this. Look at the signs the world is shifting. Nations are trembling. Systems are collapsing. The stage of history is being reset, and God is positioning his chosen ones. You are not here by accident. You are part of a divine plan that is bigger than your life, bigger than your dreams, bigger than your imagination. And if you will surrender, if you will lay it all down, you will see what eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. Do not despise the small beginnings. The seed looks small, but it carries forests. The stone in David's hand looked small, but it carried a kingdom. The bread and fish looked small, but they fed multitudes. What God has placed in your hand may seem small, but if you will give it to him, he will multiply it beyond measure. And understand this calling is urgent. The time is short. The window is narrow. To delay is to risk missing the hour. The 10 virgins waited for the bridegroom. 5 were wise and prepared. 5 were foolish and unprepared. The door opened for the wise, but closed for the foolish. Chosen one, do not delay, trim your lamp. Fill it with oil. Be ready. For the moment is now. You were born for this. Everything you endured was shaping you for this. The tears you cried were watering the soil for this. The battles you fought were training your hands for this. And now, heaven is saying, it's beginning. Leave everything for this. Do not fear what you leave behind, for what is ahead is infinitely greater. Do not cling to the temporary when the eternal is being offered. Do not settle for survival when you were chosen for revival. Do not remain in the outer courts when the veil has been torn and the Holy of Holies is open. The call of destiny is never convenient. It always comes at a cost. But the cost of obedience is nothing compared to the cost of regret. To miss your calling is to miss the reason you were born. To miss your purpose is to miss your very life. Chosen one, you cannot afford to miss this. And so I declare, rise up, leave everything, and step into your appointed hour. The chains are broken, the doors are open, the heavens are declaring its time. Do not delay, do not doubt, do not look back. For the one who called you is faithful, and he will do it. Leave everything for this, because it's finally beginning to happen. The shaking has begun, and the first truth you must understand is this: When heaven calls, it demands everything. Destiny never allows you to hold on to the old while stepping into the new. The chosen must become willing to leave behind every weight, every chain, every comfort, and every attachment that cannot carry into the future. This is the command that echoes through every page of divine history. When Abraham was called, the voice of God did not say, "Stay where you are and I will bless you." The voice said, "Leave your country, leave your father's house, leave everything familiar, and go to the land I will show you." Abraham had to step away from everything he had ever known into everything he had never seen. His blessing was not where he stood. It was waiting in a land of promise. So too, chosen one, your blessing is not in yesterday. It is not in the comfort of what you've always known. It is not in the relationships you cling to out of fear. It is in the future God is preparing. And the only way to possess it is to let go of everything that is holding you in the past. The reason the command is so radical is because the promise is so great. Ordinary destinies require small sacrifices, but great destinies require total surrender. Look at the disciples. Fishermen working ordinary jobs, tax collectors bound to routine. Then came the voice of Yeshua, "Follow me." They left their nets, their tables, their livelihoods. They abandoned security, but what they received was eternity. Their names became foundations of history. Chosen one, you must see this truth. If you want to carry the eternal, you must be willing to release the temporary. If you want to step into the supernatural, you must let go of the natural. If you want to fulfill a calling that will echo in eternity, you cannot be chained to a life that will fade in time. This is the reason the wilderness was so long. God allowed you to walk through deserts, to feel the heat of isolation, to be stripped of everything that gave you false security. He allowed people to leave you, doors to close, dreams to shatter, not because he was punishing you, but because he was preparing you. The wilderness was not punishment. It was surgery. It was the hand of God cutting away what could not go with you into the land of promise. Israel could not enter Canaan with the mindset of Egypt. They had to be broken from slavery in order to be prepared for sovereignty. And so too, you had to be broken from fear, from self-reliance, from pride, from compromise. Without the stripping, you would not be ready for the weight of glory. Without the desert, you would not value the rain. Without the silence, you would not recognize his voice. But the time of wilderness is drawing to its end, and this is where the urgency rises. The Jordan River stands before you, swollen and raging. It is the barrier between where you have been and where you are destined to go, and it will not part until you step into it. This is the moment where fear must die and faith must rise. This is the moment where the chosen must prove themselves willing to risk everything for the sake of the promise. The river will not move for hesitation, it moves for obedience. The walls of Jericho will not fall for analysis, they fall for faith. The destiny prepared for you will not manifest in theory, it manifests in action. Chosen one, understand this, the kingdom of God always requires a leaving. You must leave the nets of familiarity. You must leave the boats of comfort. You must leave the voices that keep you small. You must leave the sins that entangle. You must leave the excuses that delay. You must leave the fear that paralyzes. Every step of destiny is a leaving before it is a receiving. Abraham left and then he received. Joseph was stripped and then he was raised. Moses left Egypt and then he encountered God on Sinai. The disciples left their nets and then they saw the lame walk and the dead rise. There is always a leaving before the glory. So too, this hour requires you to leave everything for this. The Spirit is calling, do not look back. Remember Lot's wife. She looked back. longing for what God had already judged, and she turned into a pillar of salt. Looking back freezes you. Looking back chains you to yesterday. Looking back blinds you from tomorrow. Do not look back at your failures. God has already forgiven. Do not look back at your regrets. God is rewriting your story. Do not look back at the ones who left you. They were never meant to carry your promise. Do not look back at the pain. It was only preparation. Fix your eyes forward, for the prize is not behind you, it is ahead of you. The cost is great, but the reward is greater. To step into destiny is to step into eternal impact. What you sacrifice in comfort, you receive in glory. What you give up in safety, you gain in significance. What you release in the natural, you receive multiplied in the supernatural. The harvest is always greater than the seed, but the seed must first be planted in the ground and left behind. So too, your sacrifice will become the soil of miracles. This is the hour to decide. Will you hold on to what is fading, or will you step into what is eternal? Will you cling to what is familiar, or will you walk into what is divine? Will you settle for survival, or will you rise into revival? The Spirit whispers, leave everything for this. For the promise is too great, the calling too urgent, the destiny too glorious to be missed. And now comes the second truth. When God declares that it is finally beginning to happen, it means that everything that once seemed delayed is suddenly accelerated. The chosen must understand the mystery of divine timing. For years, nothing seems to move. The vision lingers. The dream waits. The calling feels distant. You cry out, "How long, O Lord?" The silence stretches across seasons. The prison door remains shut. The desert continues. But then suddenly, without warning, the moment comes. Joseph went from the prison to the palace in a single day. David went from the pasture to the battlefield in a single afternoon. Esther went from hidden to queen in a single night. The divine pattern is delay, 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 then sudden acceleration. Chosen one, you are stepping into sudden acceleration. What took years will now happen in moments. What seemed impossible will unfold before your eyes. Doors that were locked for decades will swing open. Opportunities that were withheld will be released. Encounters that shift your entire destiny will appear. It is beginning to happen, and it will not happen slowly. It will happen suddenly. But only those who are ready, only those who are surrendered, only those who are positioned in faith will step into it. This is why the oil of preparation matters. The 5 wise virgins carried oil in their lamps, and when the midnight cry came, they were ready. The foolish carried no oil, and when the door opened, they were left outside. Preparation is the key to participation. If you are prepared in faith, you will walk into acceleration. If you are unprepared, you will watch it pass you by. The question is not whether God will move. The question is whether you will be ready when He does. Chosen one, hear this. Every tear you cried was watering the soil of the promise. Every battle you fought was training your hands for war. Every delay was stretching your faith. Nothing was wasted. The years the locust devoured will be restored. The wasted seasons will be redeemed. The broken pieces will be remade into glory. You thought the silence meant He was absent, but the silence was the sound of God setting the stage. You thought the delay meant He had forgotten, but the delay was the time of alignment. And now, when the moment comes, you will see why the wait was worth it. The mystery of God's timing is this: He waits until you cannot, so that when it happens, you know it was Him. He waits until the river is at flood stage, so that when it parts, you know it was not human effort. He waits until the walls of Jericho are fortified, so that when they fall, you know it was divine power. He waits until Lazarus is 4 days in the tomb, so that when he rises, you know it was resurrection life. So 2, he has waited until now, until you thought it was too late, until you thought the dream was dead, until you thought the promise had expired. But now he is moving, and it will be clear that it was him and not you. This is why the enemy has fought you so hard. The closer the breakthrough, the greater the battle. Pharaoh's armies pursued Israel most fiercely at the Red Sea, not before. The lion's den came right before Daniel's promotion. The cross came right before resurrection. The battle intensifies when the breakthrough is near. That is why you have felt the pressure, the confusion, the wariness. The enemy knows what is about to happen, and he is terrified. For when the chosen rise, the kingdom of darkness trembles. When you step into destiny, chains fall off not only from you, but from those connected to you. When you fulfill your calling, multitudes are touched, nations are shifted, history is rewritten. The enemy sees what is at stake, and that is why the war has been relentless. But take heart. The intensity of the battle is proof of the magnitude of the breakthrough. And now the breakthrough is here. The acceleration is beginning. The shift has already started. You feel it in your spirit. Things are moving, aligning, opening. The pieces are falling into place. The river is parting. The walls are trembling. The promise is within reach. And the Spirit is declaring, leave everything for this, because it is finally beginning to happen. So, chosen one, what will you do? Will you stand still at the edge of the Jordan, waiting for certainty that will never come? Or will you step into the waters and watch them part? Will you circle Jericho in silence, trusting in what you cannot see until the walls collapse? Will you lay Isaac on the altar, believing in resurrection? Will you leave the nets behind, trusting in a greater catch? This is the conclusion, the final calls. Destiny is not for the hesitant, but for the surrendered. The hour is late. The cry has gone out. The doors are opening. The King is moving. You were chosen for this. You were born for this. You were prepared for this. Every moment of your life has been leading to this hour. Do not miss it. Do not look back. Do not delay. Leave everything for this, because it is finally beginning to happen.